everybody, it's JB Sleeve with another Clean Eats recipe. Today is my wife's birthday. Can't tell you how old or she'd kill me and I wouldn't be here for her next birthday. However, tonight I'm going to show you a nice Clean Eats recipe. It's going to be a balsamic glazed steak roll-up. So I've got these little sirloins. They're not that thick, but what I need to do is I need to hammer these out to get a nice thin steak, because I want to roll these up around some nice clean crisp veggies before they go on the grill. So to prep these steaks, you're simply going to take off any excess fat around the outsides. And then get yourself a good meat mallet. Okay, this one has a flat side and a tenderizing side. I keep a little bit of coconut oil. Lost my train of thought right there, to make it so I can glance. Whenever you're tenderizing or trying to flatten out this meat, you don't want to wham, you don't want to hit it. Okay, you want to do it in a glancing motion like that, so that you're pulling the steak and you don't want to really hit it real hard. So you want to try to pull this steak out as you're lightly tapping it to stretch it and thin it at the same time. So do a little bit that side, a little bit this side, and then flip it over, and then straight down with the mallet to tenderize. You're going to tenderize both sides, and then you're going to stretch again until you get the desired thickness that you want on the steak. So see, this is starting to thin out real nice. I got a little thicker down here, so I need to work on this end and get it stretched out a little bit. Thinned out and stretched out. That's what you're looking for. So I'm going to finish stretching this one out and I'll be right back. Alright, so as you can see, I've got that steak nice and hammered out. It's nice and flat so that this will accept the veggies. I'm going to do some vegetables. I'll show you that process later. So whenever you're rolling up, you'll lay your vegetables in there and you'll start from the narrow end and you'll just roll it up just like that. So before we move on to anything else, I'm just going to slide this one over out of the way. Bring this one in. And I'm going to show you the spice blend that I'm going to use for these steaks. I have my pestle and mortar here. I've got 3 large garlic bulbs going in my pestle. I'm going to reserve some of that. I have some fresh rosemary. If you don't have fresh, if you got dried, that's fine. But fresh is a lot more tasty and a lot more fragrant. I've got some Indian peppercorns here. A friend of mine from work from India, he brought me some of these. They're just like regular pepper, just a little bit lighter in flavor. And then of course some pink sea salt. I'm going to reserve a little bit of that garlic for later, and I'm going to get these spices mashed up, and these will season the inside of those steak rolls. So when you're pestle and mortar, you can do this in a grinder as well. I don't know, I just like making the paste, busting all this down. Yeah, it takes a little longer, it's a little bit more work, but I don't know, I like the final consistency. As soon as I get this ground down to a paste, I'll be back to show you what it looks like. Alright, welcome back guys. I've got this just about down to a nice paste. But you take a look at that right there. So before I finish this off completely, I'm going to go in that mixture with a shot of balsamic vinegar, because these are going to be glazed over on the outside with that balsamic mixture. But I also want to get, you might want to lean off the table so you're not rocking and shaking. I also want to get some of that balsamic flavor on the inside of the steak whenever I'm grilling it. Last couple little blends here, and there you go. I've got a nice garlic, herb, salt, pepper, and balsamic paste. And then what you'll do with these is we'll bring the steaks back into the shot here. These steaks you'll roll out like this. You grab a small spoon or a big spoon. You're just going to take a little bit of this, and this is going to be on the inside where you're going to wrap those vegetables. Coat the inside of that nice thin down steak with some of that herb mixture, and we're going to do the rest of these, and then we're going to let these set before we put them on the grill. We'll be back. Alright, so my steak's been setting out with my rub paste on there. Still got a little bit of garlic reserved off the side for when I make my balsamic glaze. I have some mushrooms, some zucchini, some asparagus, some green onions, and some green peppers that I'm about to saute off in a frying pan. I don't want to cook them completely. I just want to soften them up so that I can put them inside the steak and roll them up, and then we'll season the outside with the balsamic glaze when we go to fry them off in the pan. So we'll be back to finish these up shortly. Okay, so I have my zucchini, my asparagus, my green peppers, and my green onions in the pan, just wilting those down just a little bit. I'm not going to overcook those. I just want to tenderize them a little bit. My mushrooms are still over here. I'll do those after I get these other ones sauteed off, and then we'll finish. Medium stock pot, I've got a couple tablespoons, about a tablespoon of olive oil on the bottom of there. I'm going to go right in that with some rough chopped garlic. This is going to be for the balsamic glaze. Back up for just a second. Let me go in here. And I just want to toast that garlic off in that oil for about 30 seconds. We don't want to brown it, because if you brown your garlic, it becomes very bitter. So let me get this toasted off. I'll be right back. Alright, so we got that garlic toasted off. It's just started to brown up. It becomes very aromatic. Right inside of that, with a 1/4 cup of the balsamic. And then we're going to reduce the heat. And we're just going to let that garlic and that balsamic marry together. Then we're going to hit that with a splash of red wine. Not a whole bunch. Nice dark Merlot works really, really well there. Pause it. Okay, so we're going to go in that with a spoon, about 1.5 spoons of brown sugar. That's going to help it thicken up and caramelize. We're going to let that marry together for just a moment. Just enough to break down the granules from that brown sugar. Then, let me find it here. Pause it again. Alright, so we're going to go into that pot with a sprig of that rosemary. And to finish it off, let me reach right in front of you, Lou. We're going to go into that finally with a 1/4 cup of some nice dark brown beef stock. We're going to let all that simmer and marry together for about 15 minutes and reduce till it forms a nice glaze. We'll remove the rosemary sprig, and that'll be nice and tightened up into a nice glaze. It won't be all liquid. So we're going to let that simmer together for about, I don't know, depending on how high your heat running, 5 to 15 minutes. We'll be back to show you what that looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to bring these steak rolls together. I split those asparagus in half earlier, a couple pieces of the zucchini, a couple pieces of the green pepper, got some mushrooms on there, and a couple strands of this green onion. And then, just like that, you're just going to roll these up nice and tight. And then let me grab my toothpicks real quick. So then you're just going to take the toothpicks from where the fold seam is on the opposite side, and you're going to put those through just like that. This will act like a flat surface when you're frying this one side off. One on either end, one in the middle, to hold these things nice and secure while they're cooking. And that's it. These will go in the fry pan, probably the cast iron skillet, till I get a nice brown color. These will go out on the pan with those rosemary that rosemary balsamic glaze. And we'll be serving this up tonight with some mashed potatoes and broccoli, and of course some sugar-free cheesecake for dessert. I'll show you what this looks like when we get it plated up. All right, everybody, the steak rolls are in and getting browned off in my cast iron skillet. I got a few pieces of scampi going over here, some creamy mashed potatoes, that balsamic's warming back up. I've got my plate set up ready to dish, and we will bring this together here. Okay, so steaks are just about done. They're browning up nice. I got this balsamic glaze, and I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of that over the top of each steak. It's going to run down into the pan and cook from the bottom as well. This is going to help, again, brown those steaks up really nice for presentation for serving. And we'll reserve just a little bit to fresh spoon some over once we get them plated up. So we'll be back in the plate. All right, guys, here's the finished product. I got the steak rolls out. A little bit more of that balsamic glaze on there. Gives it a nice shine. A little bit of creamy mashed potatoes with a pat of butter. Some fresh steamed broccoli. And, of course, some shrimp scampi. A little bit of diced cilantro over top of that. And some flash leaf parsley over the steak and the mashed potatoes just to dress it up, make it pretty. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my wife's birthday dinner. So thanks for staying tuned. Stay tuned for the next video coming up, which should be the sugar-free cheesecake.